And it was a hotly contested game for about 3 quarters until the Pistons shut them down in the fourth, outscoring them 25-10 in the fourth quarter. Obviously, a little history between these two teams. Johnny Kane, Greg Kelser with you. But the Pistons, you know, they handled their business. You heard Duncan Robinson say it was important for them to come out and play the right way. A lot of people might look at game 81 and say, well, what are the Pistons trying to prove? Well, they're trying to prove that there is an identity to be met and there's a way to play basketball, and tonight they showed it again.
And that there's an expectation. And that expectation is you go out, you play hard, you play the way you practice, you execute the things you work on, and then whatever happens, you can live with it.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest thing to do is to walk off a court knowing you give everything that you had and that you didn't stick to the plan and you didn't play together and that you gave something away. Well, that was certainly not the case tonight. I really, really liked the way they were able to clamp down defensively, made a statement, the biggest statement you could possibly make in a hostile environment and against a team that you've got some history with and recent history. You kept it on the floor, you kept it within the confines of basketball, and you made your statement, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah, so early on, you know, like 2 minutes into the game, you know, you had the Brandon Miller, Duncan Robinson, you know, and that could have escalated. And then throughout the game, obviously there was a little chirping between, you know, Moussa Diabate and Isaiah Stewart. Point is, that's good, hard competition. Guys are going to go at it a little bit, but it didn't escalate beyond it. Both sides played with a chip. And again, Charlotte really needed this game. They really wanted to get this game. They still got an opportunity on Sunday to go to New York and see what their postseason seeding is going to be. But I thought, you know, the Pistons, like you said, they were able to kind of avoid any distractions, limit anything that was going to take them away from going out and playing their brand. And now you think about this, man. You're on the verge.
I know.
Of
it's
60
surreal
wins.
to even say it, to hear it, you know. When we know we were right here, this team lost 68 games a couple of years ago, and we know they weren't as bad as the record would indicate, but 68 losses, you don't go from 68 losses to 68 wins in 2 years. You know how I know that? Because no one's ever done it.
Yeah.
No one's ever done it. And here the Pistons are on the brink of making yet more history in a year that's been full of firsts for them.
It's almost like there's, you know, when you're a part of something special, when it's kind of taking place, you're absorbing it, but it's kind of like then you just start everything that you see, a graphic pops up and you say, well, it's the first time since this, the first time since then. Yeah, you got to go back to the going to work dynasty, you know, from you know, when they were putting up this type of, you know, domination throughout the league. It's a special thing to be a part of. Obviously, it's still, you know, a little bit of work left to be done Sunday in Indiana, and these guys will be ready to go. But it is cool. It's just like at some point in time you'll look back, hopefully after there's a parade in downtown Detroit. But, you know, not to get ahead of it, but, you know, it's been a masterful regular season. It's just been fun to watch. And, you know, every night it's somebody different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say tonight, Duncan Robinson, our Cure Auto player of the game, because something you and I talked about before the game. Yes, his perimeter shooting is incredible, much like Kevin Huerter. But these guys aren't specialists, right? It's like they can beat you in a lot of ways, and I think he showed his toolbox tonight.
I think it's important to be able to have something else when teams take your number one threat away. And everybody has perhaps a number one threat. And when you can go to something else, it makes you that much more lethal, that much more dangerous. And here you see Duncan Robinson getting in the lane. Normally when you're showing Duncan Robinson highlights, it's three-pointers. Now, he did hit some of those, but, you know, Charlotte seemed to be intent on keeping him away from the three-point line unguarded, so he took advantage of what was there. You know, the old cliche, he took what they gave, and he took a lot of it.
Yeah, he took a lot of it. Yeah, just incredible performance from Duncan Robinson. And then, you know, and he got some of the production, like we said, in the paint. You withstand that early barrage of three-point shooting. Well, you know, they started, I think, 0 for 8 from the floor, did Charlotte. Then they caught fire. Then they got it going. They got so many guys. Obviously, it's not just Con Knippel, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. They got guys that can really spread you out. But the Pistons, they said, okay, you know, we're not going to fall into that trap. We'll take our fair number of threes, but we're going to dominate in the paint, and they outscored them by 20 in the paint, 62-42.
Well,
GMC Pro Vision.
I'll tell you one thing. In the old days, when the goal was to get the ball closer to the basket for the higher percentage shot opportunity, that's going to win out probably a lot more than it fails in a 2-point versus 3-point shooting contest. Sure. And the Pistons, yeah, they weathered all of that outside shooting that the Hornets seemed to get in the first half. But in the second half, the Pistons still were able to go inside, and the Hornets didn't have an inside game. They didn't have, they sold everything on the outside, and they were made to pay dearly.
And I think when you get to this point, right, again, we were talking about a likely play-in team for Charlotte, and you would say, okay, where's, some of our weaknesses? That doesn't mean you don't get invited to the party. I think they have a good team. They'd won 11 of 15 coming in, but they do have, a little bit of deficiency of size. Yeah. When you look at Detroit and you say, okay, what don't they have? And then you have to think, right? You really got to think about what, and I'm not saying they're the best team in the league, but I'm just saying they really don't have a lot of weakness. And one of their biggest strengths is their depth.
Yeah, their depth.
And they leaned on it again tonight.
Their depth and their defense. When you're coming off the bench with a guy in Javonte Green who's third in the league in steals off the bench, and then hustle man Ron Holland
incredible.
Is fourth in the league in steals off bench. You bring Stewart in with all his power and rim protection. I mean, where are you going to go? These guys are amazing. They got all the bases covered. And I know they get criticized for maybe not having a lot of outside shooting. They've got enough.
That's it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, on display. Again, you're just seeing like a lot of the versatility of different guys. You see there, Kevin Huerter able to take it inside. The midi from Danis Jenkins, There's your man, hustle man Howard. What do you score, like 10 points in 90 seconds?
Exactly. A couple three-pointers early. He had 3 on the night. And I do believe that his three-pointer is becoming I won't say a reliable weapon yet. It's too early for that. But it's becoming something that's a more reliable threat.
Yeah.
He's 9 of his last 15, I believe. Yeah. 9 of his last 14 or 15 attempts over the last 4 games now.
Yeah. Those are our Xfinity highlights. And just quickly on Ron, I talked to him at halftime, and he said, if they're going to play me like that, I'm going to continue to take them. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, you can't fall in love. You just mentioned 9 of 14 or 15, over the last stretch of games. Is that the player that he's going to be? We'll find out. You need to get full sample sizes. But the point of the matter is, if you're looking at tape, what you've seen all season, as teams will gear up to take on the number 1 seed in the East in the playoffs, you're giving people a lot of things to think about. Because if you say, well, wait a second, Ron Howland's actually shooting it at a great clip from deep, you're like, okay, noted. Guys like Duncan Robinson and Huerter, they're now pumping from 3, and then they're putting it in the paint. You're like, okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot to think about when you look at tape.
I give the coaching staff and I give J.B. Bickerstaff a lot of credit, because they could have easily said, Ron, we don't want you shooting those. He's 22% shooter from three-point land. Drive the ball, get it closer to the hoop. Clearly, they didn't say that. It seems like they're encouraging him to go ahead and take it if it's there. We'll live with the results as long as it's a good shot. It's not like he's putting it on the floor, dancing around and shooting a contested 3. The 3s he's getting are good looks, and his form is good. So now we're starting to see, I think, the fruits of that confidence that and maybe the belief that he could get it together. We're starting to see all of that now.
I think that's important. Just when you talk to these players about what it's like playing for a guy like J.B. Bickerstaff, you hear it in different situations where it's like, hey, they just want me to be me. I tried to be me when I played, and that earned me a spot, on the bench most nights.
You're on the team, though.
I was on the team. Thank you. But truly, so it's like a guy like Ron, you're still young in your career or whatever, but you say, hey, man, I've been working on this shot. I think, is there trust in me to take it? And this coaching staff, to your point, isn't saying like, hey, just emphasize this, focus on this. It's like, be who you are. Yeah. We're going to trust it that you put the work in. And we're not just isolating Ron Howland. We're talking about him now. But for all these guys, I think that's why there's so much joy on this team.
It's been incredible. It really has, folks. I wish you could see what we see on a daily basis, especially when they're on the road with these guys. I've never seen the camaraderie and the compassion for each other, and they just always seem to be uplifting. There's never a down moment. But I will say this. It's not very far off where they were when they were, trying to get to this point. 2 years ago when they were losing all those games, I kept looking to see, when's the bottom going to fall out? When are they going to splinter? When are they going to fall apart? Never happened.
Never happened.
And now they're reaping the benefit.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's been fun to watch. I mean, just the energy at shoot-arounds and everything. You know, it's like, hey, a lot of times you get to game 80, 81. It's like, practice again? But it's not like that, man. Playing music, they're laughing, they're wrestling around. It's just been a beautiful group to be a part of. And we all, just like you at home, we have the opportunity to watch them play one more time in the regular season on Sunday.
One more time.
One more time.
It's a shame.
I know.
You don't want to get me started, do you?
No, I don't.
All right.
We're running
I'll leave it alone. Okay.
We got one more run at it on Sunday. We'll look ahead to that matchup a little bit later. But, yeah, enjoy this one, savor this one. Appreciate the time. Let's hear from JB Bickerstaff.
That was us at our best. That group that started the fourth quarter, I thought did a great job. DJ, Ron, Wu, that group I thought was all over the place. They were active. They picked up, they pressured, they set the tone, but made it extremely difficult. And then we did a great job of finishing possession. So, that's Pistons basketball, and that's what we come to expect.
What specifically was working offensively there during that stretch, and how much of that was kind of just an illustration of where these two teams are?
It stops for us, first and foremost, that turn into offense for us. When we're turning teams over, we're getting stops and long rebounds. We get to get out and transition. Transition basketball becomes easy for us. When teams have to chase us and feel like they're under duress, we're hard to guard. And our guys are so willing to share the game and so willing to share the basketball that you got to pick a lot of poisons. Where do you stop? Where do you rotate? And then guys are allowed to play in space to their strength.
And then Duncan and Ron both have been having it rolling from three lately. What have you seen from them?
Shot making, one. Trust from their teammates, two, which is the most important thing, is when guys are open. They've been finding them, getting them basketball. They've been shooting it with confidence.
For Ron specifically, I know a month ago I asked you about his shooting, and it was just taking them when they're open, remaining confident. How have you just seen his process this season in general, and then to see that process finally begin to pay off?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming because he works so hard, right? He puts in so much time. He puts in so much effort. That it was coming. And, again, from his teammates to continue to trust him and continue to make the right play to get him the ball when he's open, that builds confidence, that builds belief, and gives him the ability to take those shots, when he's open.
JB, on Monday you guys played the Magic. Tonight you guys played the Hornets. What are the benefits of playing two teams that you could possibly see in the first round?
I mean, you get a up-close look at them. You get to see kind of the ins and outs of who they are, what they do, what your matchups look like, things you can do systematically versus them. And it's fresh on the player's mind because you've just recently studied it. So it gives you an opportunity, to really hone in, get yourself on tape versus them, and then really break it down and study it.
And then just in the second half, what kind of went into limiting them from three the way you did?
We were – I thought they're going to take threes, right? That's what they do. But I thought the majority of them were highly contested. And if you can make them take them off the bounce or running off the move, they're going to become a little bit more difficult. I thought in that first half, they did a good job of getting feet set, catch and shoot threes. But I thought we made them earn them a little differently in that second half. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.